Hello everybody and welcome to the Euro Titans Championship. We're here for Division 1, not the Elite Division this time around as it is a Saturday night instead, but we're here for round 9 at the Hungaroring. And things are hotting up already in qualifying as we are riding here currently on board with Serabov on his second flying run. But it's not just me alone here tonight. I am welcomed in his presence. That is Kieran. He will be my co-commentator this evening. How are you doing this evening, Kieran?
Yeah, it's fun commentating more. I haven't commentated here yet, but it's gonna be fun commentating with somebody else than Big Harry. But yeah, thanks for having me, and let's make it a fun one.
Yeah, we absolutely shall, and I'm sure the drivers will put on a show for us tonight as well, no doubt, as we just round the final corner with Serabov. What's his time going to be as he reaches up to the line? He goes provisional pole, 1:14.696. That is the time to beat then for any other challengers wanting to take that away from him. But yeah, it absolutely will be a fun spectacle tonight, and it is always nice when you get someone else to bounce off of during a comm session here. So, of course, there will be two of us in the commentary boxes. That's the McLaren round. That's FGE Lighty into the wall. We were riding on board with him at that present moment. He's very lucky not to be losing any wheels on that car. He's still moving. He gets it back onto the track. No doubt the front end plate is missing. It certainly is. So he'll make his way back to the pits and put on a new set of tyres, new front wing, as he is currently in P3. And he'll get ready to set up and go once again. No doubt he'll probably just wait for the end now and go for his final flying run, as he's got a pretty good banker lap in already. And just find out who else is on a flying lap currently. Serabov's teammate Vadim runs up to the line. That's a 1:14.7, 2/10 improvement, sorry, but not good enough to move his way up the grid at the moment. He'll still be P6 as it stands. As we then try and find some other guys on our lap. This is their second runs now, as we do wait for the all-important final runs to come up. 7 minutes left in qualifying. Hungary, notorious for its tight, twisty nature. Easy to lose control of the car, especially if you run it over the curbs just a little bit too much. It's also known as Monaco without the walls. So if you do put a foot wrong, it can go awfully wrong in the blink of an eye. So it does take a lot of concentration, especially when you're flat out. Although flat out round here is only about 44 to 50% of a lap. The drivers will have their foot to the floor full throttle. So it's not as much as you might think, but nonetheless still takes a lot of concentration. We'll ride on board here then with Jack Imac, currently P14 at the moment in the Alfa Romeo. Makes his way through turn 1 down towards turn 2 as he dips down into the valley here that the Hungaroring is built into. Brilliant view you can achieve if you do visit the track in real life. Get up on one of the hills, you get about 80% of the track in full view. So it is very much a spectacle for everyone to enjoy if you do get the right position around the circuit. But into the chicane goes Jack. I think he's cut that one a little bit too much. He may have to back off and try again.
About the marquee jacket in P5 actually is small tends to be up on his time second two because he now rounds the final corner. That it's gonna be able to nobody goes into P2 and Jack. He's gonna go into the pits after this run, and another one is Jack Imac, his teammate, who navigated and enters the pit lane. And apart from that, Ellis and DJ on a lap at the moment. But so far the times are a lot closer than yesterday evening to the lead, with pole position starting about 2/10 to P2, I believe, if I remember correctly. And same for the race, the gaps are quite big, except for a few trains forming. You can definitely see qualifying also had the same pace, but for now it's definitely quite close.
Yeah, it certainly is. The pack nice and tight. That does provide normally very good racing when we do get to green flag conditions. But yeah, you're quite right. Frankis yesterday in his Alpine managed to pip pole position, but it was almost 3 tenths in the end as we watch Ellis the Great. He now sits in P4 in that Ferrari, but the times are very close. You only need to improve by a couple of tenths and you could find yourself going from the bottom 10 to the top 10. So that is what everyone, of course, will be aiming to do. But someone does have to finish down the back, of course, during qualifying. But yeah, it is nice and tight, this grid. So it does mean that it will be very competitive when we get into the race to follow. It will be 35 laps in around this circuit. And I can give you a little bit of the lowdown of the circuit as well. It's 14 corners, 8 to the right, 6 to the left, and 2 DRS zones, 1 down that start-finish straight. And it is a double activation point, so if you can get the move into turn 1, you get a double dose on the run down towards turn 2. As Ellis there really pushing it through the S's. He's not on a lap, he's gone very wide through that. And I wonder if he's just trying to race his way back to the pits to get a new set of tyres on. He's really pushing that Ferrari through that sector as well. But here we go then. A few cars now coming out onto track. The two Alpines together, Sereboff and Geekin. And they'll, of course, try and help each other. Whoever's behind, I believe, will try and get a little bit of an extra toe from his teammate in front. Of course, he doesn't want to be too close as he may end up being held up if the pace difference is somewhat different, you know. If he isn't quick enough, he may catch up to the back of him and get that awful dirty air, which nobody likes. Nobody wants it, of course, because it will affect your lap time greatly, and it can also affect your tyre life if they get too hot. But it does seem to have spaced out a little bit now as they go into the final sector through 12. Then goes Geekin, and Sereboff will be the second man through. So they're just warming up, getting ready to go. The thing they need to watch out for now is there exactly what I was just about to say. Cars coming out onto the circuit. They hopefully won't have too much traffic to deal with as they get onto their final flying runs. But of course, it can be quite tricky, especially if you're out early. You want to leave it as late as you dare. But you still, of course, need to make it before the checker flag falls. And yes, sensibly then, everyone gets out of the way quite nicely for them here. And Sereboff will happily go charging off down the road. He's got a clear track in front of him. Next car is his teammate, who is also on a flyer. So there shouldn't be any problems for him through turn 2. Took a very wide exit to that corner before the dashing right-hander of turn 3. I don't know why it's dashing, but it is a very quick dash through it. Up through Mansell, turn 4. And then through 5. Easy to clip the right-hand bump, as it were, the curb, that's the word I was looking for, and it can send you flying. But through the chicane into the S's now goes Sereboff, almost off the track there, just about kept it within the white lines. His teammate has binned it into the wall in front of him, and he was very well done to keep it out and not cause a bigger pile-up and collision, did Sereboff. He was slightly up on his lap time through 1. I didn't see it at the end of 2. What's it going to be as he comes up to the line? Through the final corner, hugging the barrier as tight as he dares, up to the start. It's a 1:14.5, and that is an improvement for the man at Alpine. So that is now still the time to beat, still the man to beat, but he's put a little bit of a gap between him and Shaq, who is currently second. Riding on board then, FGE Lighty. Let's see if he can light up the timing screens. 2/10 improvement as he exits sector 2. 1 sector to go. It's fairly short and sweet. He's got a bit of traffic to deal with in this final sector. His teammate nicely tucks out of the way. Does Turner. And then through turn 14, long right-hander. You want to try and get on the power as early as you dare, but not run it wide. He's managed to lose it all in that final sector. It's not an improvement for him, so he's going to be P5 at the moment then. I think that could be his final run done. Don't think we will see any more improvements from Lighty. He may have to settle for it. He may even lose position still as we get to the checkered flag. 5 seconds to go. I think that Red Bull, as that's a Ferrari around. Ellis the Great facing the wrong way. And that's up towards turn 5. Got it all wrong at the exit of 4. Next man to cross the line is going to be one of the Hasses by the looks of it on the timing screen. Who's that going to be? That was Harrison there jumps up to P9 for the moment. Who is next across the line? It's going to be the AMS driver of Marnik, currently 11th. What can he do on his run up to the start finish line? It's a 14.8. That's a good improvement from him. P6 then for the time being. Next up is going to be one of the Ferraris. It's Runnard. 77 on his dash to the line. It's a 14.9. That's good enough for 9th position as it stands. Eisner now next to cross the line. What's he going to be able to do? It's an improvement from him. He goes up to P5 then, a 14.8 as we get a few more cars now dashing across the line. I think that was Panda with an improvement. It was a 14.8 from Panda. That's 5. And that's Turner then taking provisional pole away from Sirabov. And as it stands at the moment, that is pole position. We've still got Shaq to finish his lap. He's now through the final corner up to the line. Has he been able to improve? Can he snatch this away from Turner? No, he can't. He's only good enough for P3. Chris now. Is he coming into the pits? Yes, he is. So it's not going to be an improvement then by Chris, as he was the last man on circuit. And he'll settle for P4 as well. But Turner then snatches it right at the death. And he'll take pole position then for the race to come. Brilliant qualifying session that was at the end there. And we are still fairly compact in terms of lap times as well. So hopefully we'll get some good racing action when we do get to green flag conditions. Lights out, of course. But I'm sure we'll have a few minutes between then and now to get comfortable. Get yourself a drink if you haven't got one. Maybe a quick toilet break if you need it as well, because it won't be long. And then we'll get going for this Grand Prix. What did you make of that then, Kieran?
Yeah, well, same start of the session, of course, very close to the end. But for example, value down P14, 7 valid lap of 14.7 on the second run, improved actually. But of course, on his final run, Harry is out of turn 11. Getting a massive moment, almost DNFing his teammate in the process of doing so, which didn't help him, but in the end, it still improved by about a tenth of it to still now. Jack was also invalidating. Definitely see that track limits is definitely a thing around there, of course. People invalidating their left, right, and center. Probably going to see quite a few time penalties in the race.
Yeah, I think you could be right on that one. We saw it yesterday with the Elite Division, quite a few time penalties. And I think even yourself, you said you struggled with that to me a bit earlier on, especially in that final stint when the fuel comes off, you've burnt it up and the car is feeling lighter. It can be quite tricky to keep it under sort of control, if you like, as you do push on faster and faster as it burns off, as the track rubbers in. And when you know you're on that softer compounder tyre towards the end, as it is brand new, it is fairly easy to go just a little over the edge, and then the track limit violations come flooding in. So it can happen. We've seen it happen. I'm sure we'll see it again tonight, but whoever can keep their nose clean, no doubt will have a better time of it. But crucially, I think for the race such as Hungary here at the Hungarian, qualifying is very important. So generally, if you're at the front of the grid, it's where you want to be, because overtaking can be very difficult here, can't it, Kieran? So I want to ask, who's your money on for taking the win tonight?
I want to definitely exclude bias, but I'm going to have to go on somebody to at least be in contention for this race. I believe it's the pole sitter Turner. If he has a massive chance to bring this race on, of course, qualifying on pole already just helps his chances of doing so. But who I also want to watch out for is his teammate down in P9, FG Lighty, my old driver. He used to drive for me a very fast driver, not only also qualifying, but didn't manage to improve on both laps, which kind of sucks for him. But I believe we'll see a comeback from a few drivers. Race pace will definitely mean something else around here. But I think my money's going to go on Turner.
Understandable. You got to bet on the pole man. He is there for a reason, clearly able to set the fastest lap. So you got to imagine he's got some good race pace up his sleeve as well. I think my money has really got to go anywhere with the front three. as it can all depend on how good you get away from the starting blocks here. And if you can get a good drive against your competitors in front of you and get a good, overtaking opportunity down into turn 1, turn 2, then of course you could see the likes of Shaq maybe up into first place by the time we get to turn sort of 4. But of course, it all depends on who can get away well. It depends what tyres they do start on. We can see there the sort of tyre compound and strategies people are thinking about. It should be a one-stop this evening, but it don't throw the realms of possibility. It is within the realms of possibility to do a 2-stop. I myself have done it in the past as well. It is possible to do, but of course you do have to be very much quicker than your competitors and get into the clean air. But either way, here come the lights, they're on. There's 4, there's 5. Turner on the right, Sereboff on the left. Who's going to get the best getaway as they go out? It's a slow start, really, from the entire grid, it looks like. Very odd getaway from the looks of things. And Sereboff has absolutely got a magnificent run down to turn 1. He's in first position already. That's Chris with a move up to P3 as Shaq has to concede that position. Eisner now trying to get in on the action. He's going to go round the outside down towards turn 2. Trying to keep it alongside if he can with Shaq, and he's managed to actually get the move done there. Brilliant start from Eisner and Chris, and Sereboff, of course, opening lap. He is now leading this Grand Prix. Movement still happening further down the grid. We're riding on board with Ellis the Great at the moment. He started P6. Little wobble there from Panda. Could FGE Lighty potentially make a move from that mistake out of turn 5? I think he's going to have to settle in behind for the time being as we now get into very much the sort of follow the leader section of this Grand Prix into the S's for the first time. And I think the grid now should begin to settle down a little bit. We may see a couple of lunges into this turn 12. Not at the moment, though. I don't think anyone's quite close enough just for the minute. And I think, yeah, Sereboff then getting the perfect start for what he needed off the grid. And he found his way into P1 before they even really got to the braking zone. Sets the fastest lap, of course, as well. This is a chance for Chris, though. He's all up onto the gearbox of Turner, goes the long way around as Turner tries to cover him off with the inside defensive line. And for the minute, has he managed to get the move done? He has. He still held it round the outside. He'll now have the inside line then for 2. Turner's going to have to concede that, and it looks like the guys on the medium compounded tyre putting it to good advantage, putting it to good use, as Chris has gone from 4th to 2nd, and Sereboff has taken the lead of this Grand Prix as well as a result of that. So Turner will now lead the charge of these hard compound tyres. I don't think there's been any further moves a bit further down the grid at the moment, but of course we'll keep an eye on the timing screens to see if there is any chances of a move being made. Crucially now, those for these guys, they want to try and break the DRS toe from the people behind them. But of course, if they are not first, they want to make sure they stick within that DRS range of the guy in front, because it can be very useful. And of course, this is where now you might see a few trains begin to form. I think Turner may be the first culprit of causing that train, as Chris desperately tries to hang on to Sereboff. He's just hovering around that 2nd mark. Got another lap to go before we get the full effect of DRS, of course, but it is this lap now that is really going to count. Chris sets the fastest lap, 1:18.1. He's still trying to charge and chase down Sereboff, and the gap just over that 2nd mark, which is what he needs to get under for that DRS to come into activation. What that means, that little flap in the rear wing, you'll be able to open it down the DRS activated zones, gives you an extra boost of speed. I think it's somewhere around about 15 kilometers an hour of extra speed to help you get alongside and of course overtake your competitors. But yeah, things now beginning to settle down as we begin lap 3 of this Grand Prix. Ooh, 3-second time penalty for Chris as well. That's very early into this race, and as we said earlier, Kieran, they can be costly by the time you get to the end. What was your take at the start of that whole Grand Prix there?
Firstly, it's nice to see everybody being clean for one position. There's quite a lot of things, but so far so clean. As we said, there's definitely going to be trains for them, but one of the big gainers so far, for example, is Chris. He's already picked up a penalty though. I have my experience with penalties yesterday, so I can say they can cost you the 4th time if you keep picking them up. So for his goal is just going to be to try and sit and stay off those runs. He's got only 17% battery compared to Cerebral 65% in front, which is looking to be chilly. So I move down the grid, light side by side out of turn one. Light and keep around the outside for turn two. On Panda, both drivers on the hard compound. They're going to be fighting to turn four, but Panda gets a bit of the moment. The light manages to pull to the pool. Panda, one of the big losers so far of the opening laps. Position starting to hit now with 8. Same goes for one of the other Latin Shingle, down to 60, also in good position. So far, the DRS train is going all the way from 3rd to 17th. The leader as well now, Cerebral. Both Mediums drivers in the top 10 have picked up a 3-second, already on lap 4. Not ideal for both their causes so far.
No, it certainly isn't. It's going to hamper them at the death of the Grand Prix towards the latter end. Of course, when we see that checker flag, these will not get removed as these are track limit violations. They've been pushing the boundaries of the rules set by the governing body of the sport that defines the track as the white lines. If you put all 4 tyres over, you're out of bounds, but if you manage to keep 2 of them in, you're all right. But yeah, they finding it a bit tough here at the start of this Grand Prix. I think they're both desperately trying to break away from the pack behind. Time is showing that, as it is almost 2.5 seconds back to Turner, who is the first of the hard compound tyres, but he is still keeping it around that sort of bubble in terms of gap between them. Of course, they'll want to try and extend it, but at some point the hard tyre will overtake the medium tyre in terms of performance, and when that does, I wonder, will these two have been able to pull out a big enough gap to the train behind to be able to cope with the difference in speed that inevitably will come back to them. But for the time being, we'll have to wait and see. We are only 5 laps in. We're nearly finished as Lighty there pulling out the slipstream behind Ellis the Great, filling his mirrors up and maybe trying to put him off a little bit, force him into a mistake, practically pushing him through the penultimate corner. Into turn 14 they go, hugging that inside line. Get as close as you dare to the barrier without touching it, and then on the power as early as you can to get a good drive down this start-finish straight. DRS in activation. Will we see a move maybe around the outside for Lighty? It isn't quite on just for the moment. Ellis getting pretty good on the brakes. Now he's going to have a second chance into turn 2. Just about enough room for a car there. Tries to hang it round the outside, does Lighty, but Ellis putting on a stellar performance, showing everyone how to defend from a guy behind you. He's very much doing a Fernando Alonso here on Lewis Hamilton, is Ellis at the moment. Brilliant driving from the pair of them. It's nice and clean, it's comfortable, I would say, maybe not for those in the cockpit, but either way, they're putting on a show for us, which is fantastic to see. A little bit of a moment there. I don't know what that was. It looked potentially like a bug in the game, as Lighty dropped off the back there of Ellis, and he's now going to be under threat from Panda behind. Got past him a lap or 2 ago, and looking at this, really, you've got Marnik right up behind him as well for AMS in that Aston Martin. Maybe if anyone can get a little bit of overspeed, maybe use a little bit of that ERS system. That gives you an extra boost of power delivered straight to the engine. And then maybe you can get alongside your competitor, make a lunge potentially into turn 1. But I think the gaps are forming just a little bit too large. And unfortunately at the moment, no moves are able to be made. Panda though, still just around that 4/10 mark, just for the moment behind Lighty. So he's keeping him very honest at the moment. It's very easy to lose positions and tumble down the order if you do make one mistake, simply because the field is so tightly congested and packed together. It's so competitive when you get to the top ends of these sort of e-sport teams. And of course, one little false move and you find yourself tumbling down and down the order, and it just hammer over fist. You lose positions left, right and centre. So keep an eye and watch out for the mistakes, because if you do make one, There'll be positions to be made from your guys, competitors behind you at least. Marnik, though, on board here, back with the AMS driver. He's looking very close to the back of Panda, into the braking zone of 12. And then through the penultimate of 13. Got a lot of battery, has Marnik, which is good news for him. It means he's got a lot to use. That was a slide, though, from Panda through the exit of 13. Now he could become quite vulnerable as we go over the start-finish line. DRS will be an activation for both these drivers, but of course, it means one can attack, one can defend. Closing is Marnik, not able to get alongside though. Looks like he's going to take a slightly wider line to try and get a better traction and exit out of turn 1, but it's still not quite enough by the looks of it for the moment. I think it's going to be another lap where he sits in behind as the train is very much forming. Big slide though again from Panda out of turn 2. Could this be the chance then for Marnik? Or is he just going to settle in once again behind for another lap? I think he is going to for the time being. It's not exactly, you know, the worst idea. It can be quite a sensible thing just to follow your competitor and then potentially get something done in strategy, as I think that is where a lot of overtakes will come from. If you get the strategy right, then you can be hailed a hero, as you could make a lot of positions up rather easily. Get it wrong, and you could find yourself down towards the back of the grid.
Sorry to interrupt you, but
oh no!
Back was supposed to spun around. You already picked up damage out of turn 3, and the moment almost stops. But now the American 6 and 7, he's totally lost the car with on board with him as well. Seems nothing dodgy goes on. Didn't seem like, but he just dropped the car fully on the power. Of course, front wind's gone for the FCR driver down in the...
Sorry, I'm going to cut back in front of you again, just simply because I've got Ellis and Lighty fighting. Lighty's round! They've made contact into turn 1. He's facing the wrong way. He's got it back facing the right way now, but Lighty down in 16th after making a brilliant move on Ellis. Ellis made a lunge back up the inside into turn 1. I don't quite know if anything went wrong for either driver, but they had a little bit of a coming together. And well, now we can see the consequences of that. Lighty down is 16th. Ellis, luckily enough to be facing still in the right direction, but he has dropped off Shaq in P5. So now he's got to put in a lot of effort to get back within that DRS train, or he could see them all sort of barreling off down into the distance. Sorry for interrupting you, Kieran. I'll come back to you now and let you finish.
Yeah, as I was going to say, Beto disappointed down 18th. He's been doing consistently well here, at least in the other competitions. He's done very well for a Pride team. And we're definitely seeing now, I think, definitely seeing some gas being for up the grid. We're starting to drop off Sarah Brock, who's starting to pick up the pace even more. Round about now is where the hard come out of time should be faster than the mediums, as they are looking to die down the grid, with Marnik overtaking the runner for P8, the AMS driver overtaking the XP driver and not getting run round this time by a Ferrari. Good to see at least one team so far. Jokes aside, you definitely see that up the grid though, batteries being used, except for the leader who's on 75% battery. He looks to be just playing his race so far. Everything's falling into his hands. Getting race off the line almost so far, just settling into the race.
Yeah, Sereboff doing everything he needs to, of course, and as you say, it's very much all fallen into place for him. Got a brilliant start off the line, and he's now able to just sort of manage his pace. He's got a gap to P2 of Chris, and of course he then has a gap back to Turner in third, and so now Sereboff can, I don't think he can really let off the gas, as he is on a different compound of tyre. So of course, you know, as you said, the hards will now begin to come into their own and maybe overtake those medium tyres, as we now see Shaq go for a move on Eisner for P4 down into turn 1. He seemed to have the move done before they even got into the braking zone, and he should now cement it as he'll get a double dosing of DRS towards turn 2. Good overtake there by Shaq, and the lap before we saw Marnik getting past Runnard, took a dive to the inside of turn 1. and he managed to make it stick as well. So that was a good move by him. But yeah, few weak links in the train now beginning to form. Of course, Ellis there being one of them, as he did drop off after that collision with Lighty. And it now looks like Shaq, after getting the move done nicely on Eisner, has now found himself out of that DRS zone to Turner in front of him. So a couple of these guys got it all to do to try and get back within the DRS train they were a part of. Of course, if you are out of it, it can be quite crucial to your race, as you do tend to lose time. The only thing I will say for Shaq at the moment is Turner hasn't got DRS in front of him. So Shaq and Turner on equal sort of footing at the moment. Is that a move there by Panda? Yes, it is. Ellis seems to have made a mistake out of 13 and through 14. He's dropped 2 positions. His teammate is now right up behind him. Will we see another move down towards turn 1? Yes, Marnik's going to go for it. Pulls out of the slipstream. Will we see a double overtake then by the Ferrari behind? No, we won't for the minute. But Marnik takes P6 away from Panda. Makes full use of the DRS that Panda does not possess. And then he will move up into P6 quite happily. Another move there further back, side by side. Go Gekin and Harris through turn 2 into turn 3. Gekin seems to have the better traction and is able to pull ahead on the rise up to turn 4, or Mansell, whatever way you want to call it. It is turn 4. And I think that is very much cemented now for Gekin. Moves up into the top 10, does the Williams driver, and he'll happily take that position, as that does now mean points for him as well. He'll hope to go charging off a bit further down. Interestingly, he's on the medium tyre, as we thought maybe the hard would come into their own now over the medium. Gekin proving us wrong. Able to make a move, get it done, and cemented it as well. Maybe he can try and go for a charge, as Wempy there picks up a 3-second time penalty. I'd imagine that is for the track limits. But of course, quite difficult to tell when you're not riding on board with everyone at every second of the race. 13 laps. Oh, sorry, no, go on, Kieran. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, sorry to interrupt you. Wempy at the back, though, I saw him on turn 1. He actually has picked up damage. He's missing his front right MP. Williams is going to be putting his fuel light is already flashing. That's not a good sign if you're required to take around 2 laps of fuel around there. So that's not ideal for Williams, as we have the second retirement of the day. And Williams has said, I've had enough of this, it's my time to go. And he also left the session, the driver retiring down 17 for the Aero Esports team. As his teammate up in 10th, making that move on Harrison. Weirdly enough, the mediums are actually getting even better over the time. Medium runners were seen only pulling away or stabilizing gaps at the moment, especially at the front. Cerebrov is only gaining on Turner, only pulling away from him. Turner has been around the 6-second mark for the last 2 laps. He's not been able to close down. Cerebrov has only been able to extend the gaps when there's a massive moment out the final corner. Keeps his car straight. All I can say is that I believe people are struggling for tire temperature. I think they're probably too high on the tire temps, causing their gears to overheat and having them slide over the track. Especially for the hard runners at the moment. Just need to end this stint and hope for the best for the second, when they have the tire advantage on those mediums. Definitely going to be looking to close that gap. Turner, Shaq, and Eisner, the top 3 on the hard tires, looking to close down on Chris and Cerebral. Both drivers in the top having the 3-second penalty down with Lighty. So far, only drivers with any form of time penalty.
Yeah, you're quite right there with the tyres there. Interesting that the medium seems to be working just as well, if not better, in some situations, as you were saying there. Because I would have thought, being the softer compounded tyre, you can get a lot of heat into them quicker. And my thought process really would have been that they would be the ones to overheat more over the hard compound tyres. But clearly, drivers out there proving us wrong, or proving me wrong, not so much yourself. You're right on the money with the facts as always, Kieran. But yeah, proving me wrong nonetheless. And we're just there. We're getting a little bit of a settling down now of gaps between each other. They're all firmly tucked up within the DRS train of each other, but gaps beginning to settle a little bit now. And I think what we're waiting for really, as actually Lighty there, I think maybe went for a move on Vadim, moves up into 15th, or maybe Vadim was trying to get back on Lighty, I'm not quite sure, but either way there was some action on track. But Lighty now ahead as he will go chasing after the likes of Massey in 14th. It'll be interesting to see if he can close the gap. Lighty proving he has pace, so let's see what he can do, as I'm sure we're getting close to the pit stop window now, so things could begin to hot up once again. I think we've now gotten to the point where it's beginning to settle down, so maybe a few guys dashing into the pits, particularly the ones on the medium compound, and maybe it will shake things up once again. We're about to finish lap 15 as Serabov makes his way through the final corner.
P2.
P2.
Chris has entered the pits for ET. First driver to do the regular pit stop, the Mercedes is going to be pushing the mediums for the hard compounded tire. Going to be finishing the race on this set, hopefully. Going to be looking to make sure to gain as much time on Cerebral as possible, as I wouldn't be surprised to see either a reaction or Cerebral going to continue longer, as he has a 7-second gap over Turner in P2 now. The MTK driver, who's already a one-time race winner in ETC this season, looking to add to his tally and to MTK's tally, looking to close the gap down to the leader. FGE are leading the championship by about 30 points in P1. We're returning P2 at the moment for them, and lighting down in 4th after having at this point in moment with Ellis. I believe that was the Ferrari, who now sits in 7th and is under pressure. Actually, never mind, that's his teammate to run it under pressure. Down P9, Serbrov has decided to continue on his feedings. No need to pit for him, in his opinion. He's gonna extend his tires, as we do have a pitter, 2 actually, make it 3. 3 drivers to the pit: Ellis, Ethan, Jack, and White. 4. All into the pit lanes and get the going for mediums, and 2 of them for hards, I believe. So definitely some different strategies so far. Speaking of different strategies, Cerebral from P1 still maintaining that being actually still pulling away from Turner. He's only just doing better as older the tire gets. Not very normal for mediums, but Cerebral is doing it anyway.
Yeah, he's certainly able to find some pace in that tyre, even though it's already 16 laps old. It's the softer compound. He obviously knows something we don't, and is able to make it manage and last a lot longer than some of his competitors around him. So Cerebroff, with a little bit of magic to his touch of that steering wheel, he's able to nurse these tyres around, but at the same time have some magnificent pace on them as well. And we can see there Chris was the first man to go into the pits. He's able to get a nice big gap over Ellis behind, but now these guys that have pitted early, they will have the undercut, and the undercut can be quite big here. Cerebroff is in now. Cerebroff into the pits along with Marnik, and I believe Panda as well. So this now feels like a reaction to what Chris was doing. I think Cerebroff knew he had a bit of a gap. Sorry, what's going on, Kieran?
Chris is now alongside Cerebroff in turn 1, around the outside of the MTK driver. Side by side into the turn 2 there. Chris on the inside, but let Cerebroff go into turn 2. Definitely seeing the undercut 2 laps of work, getting nearly 4 seconds on him. Right behind the MTK driver now. We're both going to be stuck in traffic right behind the train, with the MTK driver being right behind his teammate in P8 and 9. His teammate and the others ahead haven't put it yet so far in this race. Going to be looking to do so in the next few laps at least. Definitely interesting to see that this undercut is this powerful around here. Of course, undercut overall in this game really works. But 4 seconds into lap, definitely something. Are we going to see a reaction from the leaders? Yes, we are. Turner and Eisner gonna dive it into the pit lane, gonna go to the medium compound. Gonna be looking to not lose too much time to the leaders, wanting to make every possible inch of those mediums worth it. Both are into the pit boxes, both switching for medium compound and exiting the pit lane. Maybe clear air, I believe, just ahead of Ellis Reigns.
Oh, sorry, I'm going to cut in. I'm just going to look at Vadim and Chris going side by side through turn 1. Vadim not making it easy for Chris. He's now going to try a lunge into turn 2. I think that was contact. Vadiz is round. Chris is still facing the right direction. Good for him as he goes chasing after Cerebrov, Vadim's teammate. And I think that was almost a bit of a desperate move by Vadim to try and get the position back and make life difficult for Chris in that Mercedes, as Cerebrov now may be going for a move into the chicane. I saw Chris even pulled out of the slipstream of the Alpine, thought about a move as well himself, thinks better of it as it very much does become single file, but Cerebrov is not going to give up. He's going to go through on the Alpha Tauri into turn 11. That was a fantastic move through that rapid right-hander. Chris also following through very quickly on the Alpha Tauri, 1 corner behind, but that does mean he may be a few tenths off of Cerebrov, who's already onto the back of Massey. Massey is in. Runnard stays out. Harrison stays out. Shaq is also in the pits. And I do apologise, Kieran, I can hear you trying to get a word in edge, but there is a lot of action happening on this circuit as it stands. Cerebrov now going for another move on Runnard into second position. Of course, these guys around him, very old tyres. They are fighting it out, though, because it is still for position, so they have every right to do so. But Cerebrov really piling on the pressure, trying to maybe build up a gap back to Chris behind, who went for that undercut, as we mentioned earlier, incredibly powerful. Is that Turner going for a move on Ellis? It is, and so does Marnik. He also follows through Turner into turn 3. I think that might be already cemented. Ellis maybe going to try and fight it back through Mansell. Thinks better of it, I think, for the time being. Chris now finds his way through on Runnard. They're on the older compounder tyre now, so they're going to be struggling out there. Maybe they're hoping for a safety car, as they are 19 laps old, those tyres. There's action up and down the field wherever you look. As I said, the pit stops was going to make it a bit interesting once again, as Chris goes to the inside of the Haas through turn 11. They're now going to be side by side through 13. I apologise, that was 12 before. Through 13 now, side by side. Chris going to get the better traction as he has got the newer tyres, and he finds his way back into second position ahead of the Haas driver. And I think the two behind, Runnard pitting. Harrison still heading around on those very old hard compound tyres. I wonder if he's thinking about softs to the end of the Grand Prix.
Well, as Eisner P9 going to be making a move on Ellis down into turn 1, pulling alongside him, using all his battery he has, as he's now made the move stick, as Panda is going to try and sneak round the outside of Ellis. He's seen him defend here before. Round the outside, Ellis keeps it down the inside. A little bit of touch and go here, but so far so clean. Ellis still round the outside. Panda down the inside of turn 3 makes the move stick on the XPG driver, who is refusing to give up. The penalty's proven costly here, as Turner, now the next one to pick up a 3-second time penalty. The top 3 who have pitted so far, so that's Cerebrov, Chris and Turner, all on 3-second time penalties already on lap 21. As Geekin picks up his second one, I believe, of the race. Down in P13. Disappointing race so far. Aero driver.
Oh, sorry, that's a move for Turner into turn 12, up the inside of Def Dragon. He makes the move nice and easy, as Dragon has got those very old medium tyres. Can't believe he's still on them, 20 laps old. Yeah, he finally pits in, as Marnik also makes his way through. He's followed by his teammate of Eisner closely behind. As we've got another little shuffle here, as the pit stops, I think, have now very much drawn a close. I say that, there's still a couple of them out there, but I think maybe they've now all come in. Geekin retiring in the pit lane as well. He's had enough this evening. Apologies for cutting in there, Kieran. but we were getting some brilliant on-track action side by side, the best kind. But I do want to commend Panda for his amazing move on Ellis last time around. What a fantastic move that was. Held it in there, and both drivers demanded respect from each other, and of course they got it, and it enabled us to enjoy some fantastic racing as well. And so we move forward and get back into it. Lap 22 then, not long left to go. We're in the final sort of third now of this Grand Prix, and so now we can really see who's going to finish where, and of course if there's any late action dramas, just to spice things up as well.
Just looking on board with drivers, batteries are getting pretty cost. In the top 10, if my actually the notification of my Xbox goes down, I believe it's Shaq in P9, all the way down to P9, behind Life, on 90% battery, mostly everybody. Ahead in turn 1, Life is going to make a move around the outside of Ellis the Great, making it thick. Of course, Ellis being defensively very strong today, going to keep Lighty all the way to the inside as he goes down the inside in turn 2. Makes the move stick on Ellis. He's going to try and come back to Lighty's fully head into turn 3. And makes the move done on the XPG drivers. Chris now second time penalty of the race driver on those hards, dropping down quite quickly compared to these heat runners behind him, who are definitely gaining so far, but not as much as Sarah Rufford on the P1 on the first stint. Now 4 seconds ahead of Chris, almost 6.5 on Turner, who is gaining on him, but also him with a penalty, of course. But a little bit more PRS to play with for the S driver, and a lap fresh fire, so it's going to be a fun one till the end from here. Definitely going to be a battle of strategies to storm. Yeah, it's going to be a very close race up until the end from now on.
It certainly will be. We've got a couple of trains out here, and as you mentioned before, Shaq with that full battery, he's going to use some of it now to try and get a move on Ellis down into turn 1. Ellis, of course, very low on battery, but does have the DRS to help him defend. I think he's going to have to succeed it and give it up though, because Shaq with that superior battery life still in that car. As you can see, the red light there flashing on the back of Ellis's Ferrari. That'll indicate he is low on battery. I believe it's under 12%. But I also think Lighty up in front of him as well, also maybe struggling for that battery a bit. So Shaq here playing the strategy game, not on the tyre but on the battery life of those around him, as he's able to mount some late minute attacks or last minute attacks, as he has got that superior battery life and has been saving it for this very occasion, for when everyone around him is low on battery. They've been using it all race long to attack, defend, whatever it's been for. But now is Shaq's chance and time to shine, as he can abuse that battery over his competitors where they've got nothing left to give in their car, of course, but they'll still battle on hard and fierce, I'm sure. I'm going to stick on board here then with Shaq for another lap or so, as he is right on the back of FGE Lighty. Why don't we ride on board here then with the man for Alfa Romeo. Picks up the slipstream, DRS as well, a little bit of ERS, and he made that look absolutely easy. Move done and dusted before they've even got to the braking zone of turn 1. Tucks it in nicely, clipping the apex. Now he's dropping down into the valley here at the Hungarian through turn 2. Easy to clip that inside curve, send the car into a spin, but he's navigating it very well, clipping all his marks, I'm sure, and this looks like it could be very quick indeed. He is on pace to match, if not beat, his fastest lap at the moment, up to the turn and the chicane of 6 and 7. Once again, absolutely nailing all of these apexes as he drives it through into the S's now, feathering the throttle at every turn. But now he should be very much flat out until we get to 12. Yeah, very nice indeed. 10th and a half down on his best into 12. He's making it look easy, isn't he, as we ride on board into the penultimate. Late on the throttle there. It's very deceptive, that corner, I find, turn 13, but keeping it nice and tidy through 14 on the power fairly early, and he can use a bit of battery now to go chasing after Panda. That was a nice lap from Shaq, definitely gaining on the car in front of him. And now Marnik on the back of Turner, who's actually managed to catch up somewhat to Chris, as they are on different compounded tyres. Turner now able to use the softer compound over his competitor in front. Marnik as well following in very closely behind, though within 2/10 is the gap as they go through 4 into 5, and he's keeping him honest, is Marnik, keeping Turner under pressure, making sure his mirrors are filled with that lovely racing green Aston Martin. And Alien Motorsports driver absolutely doing a wondrous job. I believe he is up a fair few positions from his starting position, is Marnik. Yeah, he's 4 positions up. Definitely one of the biggest gainers here in the Grand Prix this evening. Into the final sector they go. He's going to get a helping of DRS as they go over the start-finish. But now Turner is able to catch up into up behind Chris, so he'll have the DRS to help him defend. This could become this could make Chris a sitting duck, as he's not close enough to Sereboff out in front, so he will not get the DRS to help him along. Not going to be close enough this time by. Chris had a big enough gap, but that gap is closing all the time. And Turner now going to be thinking about where to attack, where to mount an overtake on that Mercedes. I wonder if it will be calculated or whether he'll just see an opportunity and make a snap decision, instinctive decision. Lap 27, only a few left to go. 7 left, I believe, when we get to the start-finish line. Into the chicane, only a few tenths now separating them, just under half a second. Marnik though in hot pursuit, and Eisner as well behind. He's not far off this pack. Shaq though, I can see, has managed to close that gap to Panda, so they're all joining in on this train and getting involved in the action. This really is the battle for the podium, 2nd and 3rd, because Chris and Turner, even Eisner though, having a time penalty at the moment, so that could be crucial, as the gaps here are so close that it could become decisive when we hit that checkered flag. Onto the start-finish straight they go. DRS in activation, get a little bit of booster speed as they fire it down towards the tight turn of the first corner. Shaq though on the inside of Panda. He's got him on the brakes, made a good move of it. He'll move up into 6th position. He can now go chasing after Eisner in that Aston Martin. Shaq on an absolute blistering run here in the closing stages of this Grand Prix, putting that battery to magnificent use. And he's also got one of the sort of lowest life of tyres, and what I mean by that, sorry, is he's got a lot of life left in them. He's able to go quicker for longer because he swapped onto them a little bit later than the guys around him. So keep an eye on this man, BRT Shaq. He is on a charge up into this grid, and we could still maybe see him on the podium by the time we get to the checkered flag, as we've still got a few laps left in these closing stages of the Grand Prix. But we'll have to wait and see, of course.
At the moment it looks like Sereboff played this race perfectly so far. No mistakes since his penalty, no warnings at all since his penalty on lap 3. Kept it clean since. The MTK drivers only been extending his lead. At the moment, again, on those hard tires, proving he's better on both compounds. Also being on a compound softer and a compound harder now than Turner. Looking to be faster on both occasions at the moment, with 6 laps to go in this race. The MTK driver has a nearly 6.5 second lead over Chris due to this 6-second time penalty, which will cost the end of the race. At the moment, seeing him drop down to that's going to be around P8, I think, with Whitey just being outside of this 3-second window, so getting the 6 seconds of him. But it's looking like P8 for the lone ETE driver at the moment. with only one in the top 5 with no penalty being Hardik, who's able to do some challenging here for the podium if he can go quick past these guys ahead. Maybe be even able to challenge for a race win if Sarabov makes a mistake. Not likely to do. Pace he's got right now, but up to the top. Turner opting to stay behind Chris on those hards, not making too moves smart. Looks something to have turn 1. But so far, I believe the drivers are just settling in for the final few laps, getting their ERS up, making it all they can do with it. So hoping that is H. Massey move up into P10 himself with TIR. Teammate following closely behind Jack in P12. He's looking to make that trade a bit of a buffer. Maybe both could be able to go for P9 here. Would be very nice for Massey. He started last, I believe, in this race. Climbed all the way from last to P10 so far. Maybe P9 can move on. But so far, drivers are just getting into the rhythm for the last few laps and they're going to be stepping in to battle it out for the final few positions.
Yeah, we are in that stage of the Grand Prix now, settling in, waiting for the closing stages for these drivers to make a last minute move as the course. If they do that, there's no chance of an overtake to be mounted back because the Grand Prix would have ended and that's done and dusted. So yeah, I think we've got the last few laps to come now and people just waiting for an opportunity to either present itself or maybe they'll just make it into the last lap or two because then their competitors can't really get back at them, as it is, of course, difficult to overtake round here, but there won't be any time left to consider mounting an attack right back. So this could be it for the time being. This may even be where they finish. As I say, it is very difficult to overtake. We have got a big old train forming up here behind Chris. And I think that also may be the reason for Sarabov able to keep that gap up, as Chris does seem to be doing a pretty good job of defending from the likes of these guys behind. But as the laps do wear on longer and longer, those hards may even come back into contention and be the better tyre to be on, because the longer those medium tyres are out there, the worse they're going to get. And of course the hard compound tyre will last just that little bit longer. It'll last a little bit better, especially in these hot conditions and the nature of the circuit here at the Hungarian. The tyres heat up awfully quick and are prone to overheating as well. So it could be said that maybe the hard tyre now in the Grand Prix is even the best tyre to be on. So it all really did come down to strategy. But we do have a big old train here from second all the way down to P8. And, well, anything...
Go on. Harrison, final corner, TIR driver, put himself around. As he dropped down to last out, unfortunately for the TIR driver. His teammate really picking up the pace down the back of Alistair Gray. He'll be looking to push his way further up into the top 10. At the moment, everybody's scoring points except for Harrison, as it's the top 14 point here. So he's going to be looking to try and close back into the 2 seconds of Vadim Harris. Maybe he might have some damage that's visible at the moment at least. But for TIR driver, not helping their points towards any possible way to it.
No, not at the moment, but riding back on board here with Shaq. He's still got a nice big healthy battery in his car at the moment. Looking very good at the second to maybe steal some positions now as we've just started. Lap 33 has Serabov absolutely running away with it this evening. He has had the measure of this field. He's good on the hard, he was good on the medium. It didn't matter what tyre you stuck him on, he was able to make it work for him. Shaq maybe trying to take the long way around the outside of Eisner. He's going to somewhat get the cutback as they make their way through too. Both these cars having DRS. Is it Eisner? Oh, we've had a move for the... Oh, you're right, I'm so sorry. We've got a move there for second place. Turner finally making it into turn 2, through 3, and now up to 4. He's got the move done on Chris. Now he feels is the time to make the move, and he'll have to see if he can build a gap between him and Chris, and more importantly, back to Marnik behind, as he does have that time penalty to serve. I tell you what, why don't we have a quick check-in for penalties? 3 seconds for Serabov, 3 seconds for Turner, 6 for Kriz. That's going to be very damaging to his final result. Eisner with 3, Lighty with 3, Dragon 3, and Vadim with 3 as well. And well, with such a tightly close, compacted grid, of course, by the time they do see that checkered flag, where they are all bunched up together within a train, that 3 seconds can be quite costly. And for Kriz, 6 seconds. That's probably going to see him drop all the way back to at least P8 before we then finally do get a bit of a break in the chain and a gap back to Massey in P9. 6 seconds the gap between Lighty and Massey at the moment. So these guys in the top half, I don't think they can really drop out the top 10 as it stands for the moment. But they now got 2 laps to go as we ride on board here with Marnik tucked up within the DRS of Kriz. But I think Eisner now has actually dropped back a little bit. He's outside that DRS zone. Shaq's going to want to make this move soon and make it quick, because otherwise he might find himself dropping a little bit further away from the likes of Marnik up front. That's the battle he really wants to be focused on, as the guys around him do have these time penalties that will be added on at the end. So at the moment, Shaq is looking at a podium, provisional 3rd. If my maths and calculations are all correct there, Kieran, tell me if I'm wrong. But if he can get up to Marnik, then he's potentially got a battle for 2nd place. But he does need to make quick work of Eisner here and then get right onto the back of Marnik. We're about to go onto the final lap though. That red light flashing on Eisner's car, that's not a good sign. It means he's going to be down on electrical power. He's not going to have the DRS to help him along either, so this should be a slam dunk overtake for Shaq. Over the start-finish line they go. That red light flashing. Look at the overspeed there on Shaq's car. Nice burst of speed with the ERS as well to help him along. And there's going to be a move for Panda up the inside of Eisner into the same corner. The two going side by side now down on the run towards turn 2. Eisner's not giving this up though. He's going to hold the inside line through turn 2. Panda's going to have to take it the long way round. Lighty looking to maybe pick up some positions here as well. Should it all go wrong between these two? I think they're still side by side on the way up to Mansell. No, Panda's managed to make the move stick and he'll pick up P6 for the time being. Eisner down to 7th. He's going to have to battle and fight, I'm sure, Lighty for this closing stage of the Grand Prix. Only a couple of sectors to go now as Shaq's dropped 2 seconds off the back of Marnik. I don't think it's going to be enough for him on this occasion, and this may actually help the likes of Turner up ahead, as there is a little bit of a gap between him and Shaq, so he may only drop to 4th on the road as it stands. We'll have to wait and see when they cross the checkered flag, but nonetheless, it's been a sensational drive for this man in the Alpine. Serov is going to take the win here for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Next across the line will be Turner for the McLaren. He'll pick up P2 on the road. He's going to drop it down a little bit as Marnik now takes 2nd place. Turner's actually going to finish 3rd. He's managed to finish on the podium and only by 33 hundredths of a second. Look at that. As they now all start to come across the finish line. Jack Imac next, Death Dragon and Runnard. Runnard will pick up the position over Dragon. As Dragon drops a few more positions, and we just wait for Harrison then to come over the start-finish line to end the Grand Prix here. 35 laps gone, and your winner is Serabov in the Alpine. Commanded it from start to finish, and what a race that was. Kieran, what are your thoughts there as we end this Grand Prix?
Yeah, I mean, definitely extremely entertaining and a whole boost for Hungary, as H. Massey is keeping prioritization in the game. Good drive from the TAR driver, finishing P9 from his quality ban in last. Good job for the team. But nonetheless, Serabov winning the race for MTK, his 2nd win of the season. Drivers raced all around for the team, and finally picking up another piece of silver for the Alpine and the MTK outfit. Marnik in P2, in my opinion, my undisputed driver of the day. No warnings for the AMS driver in P2. Worked his way up the midfield, finished P2 in the end. Turner from pole position, I predicted finishes P3 in the end. It was solid last laps to keep Shackles off the podium, who also dropped down from his qualifying P3. Good job on in the end there. Those fresher mediums, but not being able to make up for the gap that he lost by pitting a lap later. Panda for FRC P5, their lone driver, finishing quite high up for the team. Same for Chris for the ET outfit. P6 for him after having a great opening few laps, running himself up to P2, even briefly in the DRS of Sterebrov, but losing it to him as he drove off into the distance. Either for AMS, Evan, Lighty, Massey, and Ellis round the top 10. And all I can say is that's quite a nice Grand Prix to end the Tier 1
Yeah,
race
it was a
off.
brilliant. You're quite right. What a brilliant finish it was at the end there. Your driver of the day, of course, being Marnik. I have to very much agree with you. Put in an absolutely outstanding performance. Of course, not going to take anything away from Serebrov as he was the standout man. Commanded from start to finish, did he? But yeah, Marnik able to get the moves done. Kept his nose clean, which I think was the biggest thing for him. But good racing all round nonetheless. So that wraps up then round 9 for Tier 1. We'll come back with you live tomorrow for Tier 2. It won't be myself, but I'm sure you'll be able to find it on Twitch nonetheless. And it will be Hungary again for the Tier 2 lot at the same time, 8 p.m. GMT. But for next week, we'll be heading to France for round 10 here in the Euro Titans Championship, 17th of February for Tier 1. But if you're not done with enough racing this evening, I'm going to have a little bit of a shout out here as I am taking part in a 24-hour live stream for it's the 24 hours for mental health. So if you haven't quite had enough of racing this evening, do come over, check it out, and if you are able to, maybe make a donation as well. But thank you very much everyone who tuned in and ended up watching tonight. And of course, thank you very much, Kieran, for joining me in the commentary box as well. My name is Ashley. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll see you here for round 10 in France in a week's time. Thank you very much, and goodbye.